The following presentation is brought to you by kmmedia.pro. Please visit kmmedia.pro for more information. Now stay right where you are as we present. Welcome to Positive Talk Radio, evolving ideas, one conversation at a time. Great guests, dynamic stories and interviews, plus new thoughts on a wide range of topics and concepts. I hope that you'll hang with me, Kevin McDonald, my friends, and of course, you. As together we work to understand why we are all here and what we can do to make our world a better place for all of us. To be happy, be kind, and live in peace together. Yep, that's Positive Talk Radio. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Positive Talk Radio. Let me do that real quick. There we go. And we got Tony and Alisa with us today. And, and would you care to pronounce your last name?
DiLorenzo.
DiLorenzo, I knew that. And they are the podcasters of One Extraordinary Marriage, because they have one of those. And
yes,
the reason that I wanted to have, and there's also a book involved, and there's all kinds of stuff that you guys are doing, and I wanted to have you both back on. By the way, I got to tell you, your smiling faces are just really cool. And
do people not smile when they come on with you? What do they?
You'd be amazed at the.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. There are. It's like the human animal. There is a plethora of different styles and how people work and present themselves and stuff like that. But I personally think that life is way too short and we should just have a lot more fun than we do. And I'm glad that you guys are doing that, and you're sharing that with the masses, and you've got quite a following. I must say.
We do. Well, it might.
Well, depends on where you're looking.
Well, we do.
Your podcast has got a lot.
Yes, we do.
Your Twitter has got a lot.
Being so humble.
Instagram, yeah. We've built it up over years, and have nurtured every step of the way. Just been there. Even on our Instagram, we'll tell people even to this day, we're like, you do know when you DM us that it's not somebody else.
Right.
Like Alisa and I look at our Instagram and we're DMing you because we believe so much in what we do and about you and your marriage that we're the ones who do that. So yeah, it's taken some care.
Haven't you been doing this since like 2009?
Yeah, we started 2009. The podcast, the first episode of the podcast was January 13th, 2010.
Yes.
That is your staying power is more than just your marriage, I can tell you, because you've been also married for 25 years.
We have been. Same two things have gotten us to this point, and that's just a lot of consistency and hard work.
Well, and here's the thing that we figured out. As of today, we probably met somewhere like plus or minus a day or two, 28 years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We met right after my 21st birthday.
Yeah.
Oh, no, you're not that old. You married in got together in preschool, right?
We'll go with that.
I'm 49. I just turned 49, but okay.
And I turned 48 in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So we're no shame here.
No.
You guys. So tell us that story then. How was it that you two met? Yeah. And who was smitten with who first?
Yeah, we actually weren't supposed to meet. I had applied for a summer internship program at the University of Colorado Boulder and had actually been waitlisted.
Yeah, that's right.
They had filled up the group. I was waitlisted. I figured I was just going to go home, spend that summer living with my parents. I didn't really want to. And I had been home for maybe 2 weeks. And I get a phone call from the director of the internship program saying, somebody can't come. We can overnight you tickets and you can be in Colorado in 3 days. And I literally remember, landlines, pulling the phone away from my ear because this was 94. And like yelling upstairs to my parents saying, I'm going to Colorado in 3 days and I need hiking boots. I just remember I had to have hiking boots that summer.
Sure, you're going to Colorado.
And so I flew out, and Tony, the internship program had rented a fraternity house for us to live in that summer,
which was my fraternity house. And the year prior, and in the summer of 94, I was the morning cook. So I made breakfast for everybody. And then I was also what they called a hasher, which was just a cleanup guy with a couple other my buddies. So you got free room and board, and I got a stipend for my cooking. And it was a great way to just live the summer because you're in Boulder. Not a lot of the students are around, but you get to have a blast. And I knew I was turning 21 that summer. And the directors, prior to all the students coming in the year prior, we really didn't talk to the students, and they felt like it was a little awkward. And so the directors came up to us, I think there's 4 of us, and said, hey, just be nice to the students, get to know them, be friendly. And we're like, cool, sure. If you want us to say hi, hang out. And I don't remember exactly when, but we had met probably
in the first week I was out.
Yeah, but we probably met in the living room area.
Watching TV
and just happened to start talking and saying hello to one another. And it was the summer of World Cup soccer and O.J. Simpson
White Bronco
car chase.
I do think we watched we'd have to look up the date for the White Bronco car chase, but that was one of the first things.
Yeah, we probably, if we looked that up, I bet you that would narrow it down.
Yeah.
For sure. But so it was absolutely an amazing summer. We got to meet. Less than 2 weeks later, she turned 20. And so I reached out to a good buddy of mine who was living in an apartment. And I was like, hey, can I throw a kegger? And he's like, absolutely. And I go, I'm doing it for this girl's her 20th birthday. He's like, you're bringing the cake, you're doing all this stuff. I'm like, I'll do it all. He's like, absolutely, come on over. So I threw a kegger for her 20th birthday. And our first kiss was across the table in my buddy's kitchen.
So he did a good job following directions and getting friendly with the interns, or with this intern specifically.
Yeah, it was only one intern.
Only one, but this one got really friendly.
Yes.
Well, and the guy who owned the apartment won because he got all the beer he could drink, and he was at the party. So
they were fine.
It just wins all around.
Yeah. Boulder is such a beautiful city.
Yeah.
It really
is. And in the summer when the students leave, it's even nicer.
When you're with 25,000 people, it just
makes it just small and fun. So it's just gorgeous. So we met there in summer of 94.
Yeah.
So now, did you cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner for the group? Or
no, mine was just breakfast, which was really rough because I had just turned 21. And so most mornings I'd get in about 2 or 3 a.m. and then I'd have to turn around and be up at 5:30. So it was a really rough summer. But I just had the breakfast shift. And then I think one of my other buddies had, I think, the lunch shift, and then the house mom, she cooked dinner and we would just help with her, just making sure everything was prepared. Yeah.
I have a good friend who loves hash browns. So how did you do your hash browns?
I don't remember hash browns. I remember the eggs. I just made a lot of eggs. And I'm sure if we did hash browns, I'm sure I just threw them on a platter and baked them.
Yeah.
And
just on the grill.
450 degrees, put them in the oven, let them go, and call it good.
So after that first kiss, was it just you were together by each other's side for the next 28 years, or
no? Really that first kiss was the start of an 8-week, at that point in time, probably like 7-week summer fling. That's all I thought it was going to be, because Alisa was going to go back to finish up her senior year at DePaul University in Indiana. So I figured, well, we can have fun. It's a summer thing. You're going to go back to school. You got a year. You're going to go live your life and you're going to do your thing. And so that's what was going on in my mind.
But I do remember, probably my most vivid memory of that summer was when you and I went to Chautauqua Park.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we were up, underneath the Flatirons. The clouds were below us. We were just having this conversation. And I remember thinking at that point in time, this is likely the man I'm going to marry. But, being, following all the rules, I did not tell him that, because that would have been like violating every dating rule on the planet.
That would have freaked me out. I would have ran.
And so it was when you took me to the airport.
Yeah, when I took her to the airport 8 weeks or whatever time frame that was later, dropping her off back at the old Stapleton Airport. You could go to the gate, gave her flowers, and I wouldn't take off my sunglasses because underneath I was just a wreck. I was tearing up, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is the woman I want to be with. And she's leaving, and we haven't said anything more like, are we going to continue on? Are we going to keep talking? We were just basically like, summer's end, so see you later. And that's where I was like, oh my gosh, this is the woman I'm going to marry.
You still didn't say anything, though.
I didn't say a dang thing. I wore my sunglasses in and I wore them out. I'm like, I'm getting out of here. And then I cried.
So was there a song involved in any of that 8 weeks?
No.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes, but it was not like our song. I mean,
the whole casting or Counting Crows.
Counting Crows and Dave Matthews Band.
I still think Crash, Mr. Jones, Anna Begins. I don't know if
there's that whole album.
Yeah, that whole album. It's still to this day. Those songs will come on, and we're like, oh my gosh, summer of '94.
That's so funny. Okay, so this is totally random as I'm thinking about this because we've never been asked that question before. But now that I think about when we were trying to pick the song for our wedding, I don't know why we didn't think of one of those songs instead of like having to rack our brains to have.
Well, I think we were too close because we got married in October of '96. So I think it probably would have just been the time frame.
If we had a song though that we would have. Anyhow,
I don't know if it was our song, but I'm just saying now when it does come up, it really
see what happens. 28 years later, we get into all of this kind of stuff, and it would have made our lives so much easier back in '96.
Absolutely. You want to do a vow renewal? We'll have one of those songs play.
Okay,
for
perfect.
You. Whatever you want to do, baby doll.
Exactly. Well, the reason I bring that up is that years ago when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was an opening guy for Denny's. At that time, they were a large corporation, and they would send an opening team around to open restaurants. Okay. And so they sent me and 5 other people to San Jose, California. I'm in Seattle, and that's where I live. Yeah, always have. And of course, we are there. We hire the staff. We clean the restaurant. We train the staff. We get them all ready, and then we work shifts with them for about a month or 2 months. And so we get to know these people. And of course, I were friendly. I was friendly, and I met somebody there.
Yeah.
And we ended up going to a discotheque. That's what they call it, a disco, way back when. And the night before I left, and she had picked out a song. And it was called, have you ever heard the song from Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive?
Oh, yeah.
That's the song. It's like, you can leave now. I will survive you. So, and stuff. And so,
wow.
That's quite a statement.
Yeah, it really was. And I got on the plane and went home, and that was the end of that. Anyway, so I'm so glad you guys are here, because I just have so much fun talking to you two. You can tell that there's love in your heart for each other and for the work that you do, and you're making a real impact in a lot of people's lives, and I just love that about the work that you do.
Thanks.
How did that come about? Did you guys just magically one day an angel came down, tapped you on the head, and said, "We're going to do a podcast, and this is going to be famous"?
No. Oh, not even close.
No, our marriage, was pretty, I would say from most people's standpoint, and from mine for sure, was dismal at times. Wasn't refreshing, wasn't joyful. It was just day to day. We were making things happen. And at the 11-year mark, we just got to this point, I think both of us, of like, what are we doing? Yeah. Many years prior, I had hiked the Pacific Crest Trail, had come home after through hiking it. And there was distance between Alisa and I. And this was in our 3rd year of marriage. And she had come home and said, "Hey, you gotta get doing something instead of just sitting around the house, or I've been looking for a divorce lawyer." And at year 11, though, we were at this point again where I think both of us were distant. We had a 5 and a 2-year-old, and we were about to lead a small group study at our church, which we were going to do around a book called Intimacy Ignited. And we were going to talk about the Song of Solomon. We were going to talk more about sexual intimacy with this group of folks. And we happened to be at home watching a TV news station because one of our friends or kids were playing like
beach tennis.
Mm-hmm. And it was cool. We were like, all right, well, that's cool. But it was the episode after, or the segment after, where they brought on these two couples who had done sex challenges. Mm-hmm. And it was like, whoa, hold up here. Like, let's keep this on, Alisa, because we're not having sex and we're about to lead a small group around sexual intimacy. So let's leave this on right now.
And I'm like, oh, seriously? Seriously? All right.
So we watched this segment. They talked to these two couples. One couple, the wife had gifted her husband for his 40th birthday 365 days of sex. Mm-hmm. They never say how many days they have, but that's what she gifted him, wrote a book about it. Again, they never said. The next couple they bring on, they had sex for 101 days straight. Mm-hmm. And they were like the polar opposite, though. They went like no matter what. Like, he's in the hospital and his buddies are going to the hospital to tell the doctors to get him out of there so he can go have sex with his wife. So it's like,
she like took birth control for 4 months straight, like all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, no, that's nuts. That is just like crazy.
Yeah. So it was a whole nother thing. But anyways, I'm watching this thinking, wait a minute, we aren't having sex that much. We're about to lead this small group study. And in my mind, I'm going, okay, the small group study is going to be 8 weeks. That's 60 days. And so I'm thinking, and I'm looking at this and I'm going, and I look to Alisa and I go, hey, what if we do a 60-day sex challenge while we're leading this small group?
That's a no. That's just a no. Not interested. 2- and 5-year-old, exhausted. I didn't even give that much of an explanation. It was just no.
Yeah, there was just no.
That was the quickest no you've ever said in your life.
I'm not sure he actually finished the question. I think I had enough intuition where that was going, and I'm like, no.
And then she walks into the bathroom, and so I'm thinking, well, at least tonight, at least I brought it up, so maybe tonight. And she comes out with like this green face mask on, and
not happening. Not interested.
Yeah,
not interested until the next day, where literally I call it my come to Jesus moment. I'm standing in the garage with a basket full of laundry that needs to be folded, and this voice like pops into my head, and I hear this voice say, "If you're not willing to try, your marriage is over." And I was like, yeah, no. But there was that kind of that niggling thought of just going, okay, wait a minute. He's not asking me to like cut off an arm or give up a kid, or like my husband just wants me to make him a priority. He wants to have, like, is it really that bad? And so you came home from work.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, I'm nominating myself for wife of the year because he comes in the door and I'm like, okay, I'm in. We're going to do this. And he looks at me and I'm like expecting, confetti from the sky, like the award presentation. Cause I just think like literally I've just gifted you the most amazing thing. And he looks at me and he's like, you're in for what? What are we doing? Like, you did not just ask me that question. Are you serious?
Yeah. And so for me, I was more deer in the headlights at that point in time, because she's like, let's do the 60-day sex challenge. And I had forgotten about it because I had been rejected many a times in my marriage prior to that point. And so for me, it was just easier to move on than just hold on to something and get bitter and get resentful. And then she's like, no, let's do this. And I was just, oh no. In my mind thinking, what am I going to do? Am I going to be able to last? And all these things start coming up. And so we agree upon how we're going to set this up. And it was, if one of us was sick, we weren't going to have sex. If Alisa was on her period, we weren't going to have sex. And
if we weren't together,
we wouldn't have sex. And so out of that 60 days, we ran our small group, and we ended up doing 40 out of the 60 days. And it was really amazing, because that was the catalyst for us. And it was just for us, really, Kevin. It wasn't supposed to be for anybody else. And it happened to just get around through the church, through our small group director, that we had done this. And those in our small group really loved how transparent we were and vulnerable we were, and talking about the goods and the tough times. And they asked us to speak at the marriage retreat. And that's really where it sort of started. Oh, wow, there's something here. There's some interest.
Yeah.
I got to ask you guys a question, because you are experienced at this, and you've seen the best of it and the not so good of it. I think that there is an undiscovered issue in a lot of marriages today, and that is when you have different sex drives.
Yeah,
and you have the woman tends to end up being the gatekeeper. And the gatekeeper, if she says yes, it's like, great. If she says no, it's I'm rejected.
Right.
And a lot of marriages go through that where she can then, and it gives her an incredible amount of power, because that bleeds over into other areas of your life as well. Because if she has the ability to say, no, pal, put it away, or maybe, or no, if she has, and at the same time never comes to you and says, hey Tony, what you doing, let's go, have a couple of moments together. So how did you guys negotiate through that, and how do you advise couples that somebody may be listening going, damn, that's me. How do you advise them to work through that issue?
Yeah.
So one thing I'm going to say is that's stereotypical thinking.
That it's always the woman.
That it's the woman mainly. And we've been doing this now for over 12 years. And I used to think like that as well. And I would say it's 50-50. We hear from just as many wives who are frustrated with their husbands who don't want to have sex with them, as we do hear husbands who are frustrated with their wives who don't want to have sex with them. And so that has something that allowed us to go, okay, this isn't a male, female, this isn't a wife, husband. Right. This is something that's happening across the board in different ways in different marriages.
And I think, one of the things that's really important to know is that a lot of times, even though I am going to use she because I was the gatekeeper.
Yes.
So
we've had episodes around that.
I did not realize how much power I actually had in the marriage to control the tempo. For me, like our third episode is called McDonald's Theory, because I likened my decision on whether or not we were going to have sex to like going to McDonald's, right? You go to McDonald's and they say, do you want fries with that? They ask you every single time, do you want fries? Do you want to upsize? And some days you say, well, Tony always says yes to fries.
Always fries.
Some days I will say yes, and some days I'll say no, right? And there's no emotion to it. I'm just like, some days I want to and some days I don't. And that was really how I felt about having sex. Some days I want to and some days I don't. I didn't understand, and I think this is really what this gets to. I didn't understand the pain that my decision and my indifference was causing in the marriage. Yeah. I didn't understand that he always, and I think I can use always here, always received that as rejection.
Absolutely, yes.
And what we've come to learn in all of our research and study is that the pain of rejection, of being rejected sexually, of being rejected emotionally, has the same impact on the body as actually being struck, of being hit. And so when you get into that place of going, oh my gosh, is this what I'm doing? Then you get to step into this place of saying, well, what decisions am I going to make going forward? And so I would say to anyone that's struggling with that in their dynamic, it might be time to break that cycle. And you might need help, professional help, whether you're working with a coach or a therapist, to go, how do we get out of this loop? Because that's what it becomes for a couple.
Yeah.
Well, I'm upset about this, so we're not going to have sex, but we don't actually resolve the reason why we're not having sex or what the problem was. So we just keep not having sex. And then all of a sudden you find yourself 5 years later and you can't remember the last time you had sex. Get help.
It became, well, this is a personal story, which is one of the reasons why I'm no longer married.
Yeah.
But it became to a point where I said, and I'm not going to use the word, but F it, I'm done.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to approach that person until she approaches me. And I'm not going to tell her that either.
Right. And that's what so many people think. And then that cycle doesn't get broken because you don't get approached. Right. And then you're like, she, in this case, can go forever.
She did.
Well, and it's interesting you say that, Kevin, because I remember at one point in our marriage, this is prior to year 11. I remember doing something just like that, man. And it was probably in year, I don't know, 4 to 5, somewhere. I can't remember exactly, but I did something just like that. I was like, you know what? I want to see how long it takes for Alisa to actually initiate.
That's it. That's the one.
I was like, I'm going to just see how long it takes her to initiate. And it went something like 30 odd days. And finally I was like, I said something, because at that point in time, I'm going, Alisa, there's an issue here. There's something going on and we cannot continue this route. But I do know that I myself have done that. I don't think it's healthy. I don't think it was the best thing that I could have done, because I'm setting up expectations that she doesn't even know about. I'm not addressing some of my own issues. I'm not being a positive force in my marriage by thinking of what can I do in this situation. And so, yeah, have I been there? Absolutely. I've gone through the ringer in my marriage, personal inflicted wounds inflicted by Alisa. And yet we can sit here now and speak to you now, 25 years into this thing, and go, we are living out the extraordinary marriage that we desire. And we're going to keep on doing it. So you don't have to continue doing what you've been doing if you both are truly wanting something different and more in your marriage.
I really appreciate, and I've listened to some of your podcasts, the honesty with which you approach it. You don't sugarcoat anything. You are really solely, totally honest about your feelings and what really is remarkable to me is that the two of you obviously have had a great deal of conversations, because you can look at each other and talk about a disagreement that you've had and not hit each other, which I think is pretty remarkable.
Well, you learn forgiveness, right? You learn to let things go. You learn to just go, we've worked through that. So there's no reason to bring it back up. It's done. We've already fleshed it out. So bringing it up now, something that happened 20 years ago, how is that benefiting either one of us? Can we talk about it in a way that is civil and may bring up certain points? Absolutely. And yet I think Alisa and we used to do that. We through discussions, through coaching, through realizing that isn't healthy for either one of us, that we need to let go of those things. Right. We got to get to the root of really what are those issues and take care of them. And when they come up again, we don't sit in our muck, but we go back to the table and we get cleaned up again, and we go, all right, where do we need some tweaking? I've gone to a counselor. I haven't gone maybe in the last month or two, but the beginning of this year, I went back to seeing a counselor every week for a few months, just because I needed some things addressed that hadn't been. And it was wonderful.
How do you guys continue to evolve together? Is it all based on communication back and forth? Because, as we get older, we change. I don't know about you, but there's parts of me have changed over time. And so, you change, but as a couple, you need to change together. Is that a pre-planned thing that you guys work on? Is it's got to be tied to communication, doesn't it?
Well, I mean, what we refer to communication as emotional intimacy. I mean, when I wrote the book, The 6 Pillars of Intimacy, that was the first pillar that we talked about, because, that verbal and nonverbal communication that a couple has literally drives everything, right? What you say, how you say it, what your body is saying, really becomes that underlying fabric that you make all of your decisions on, that you everything comes back to. How do we relate to one another? And that emotional intimacy, we call it the workhorse. Yeah. Because developing that skill, and that's what it is, around in your marriage, allows you to be able to face everything that comes at you.
Yeah. And then we built out the 6 pillars of intimacy, which is our framework. And that's where we've gone to now. And so we've realized in our own marriage, like, we can't just be grasping at thin air and going, well, maybe this is going on, or maybe that's going on, or what's this and this. And so we came up with the 6 pillars of intimacy that allows us to really look at our marriage and individually as well, and go, okay, which pillars have cracks? Right. Which ones are strong? Which ones do we need to address? Which ones are good? And it allows us to see marriage from a holistic view than just trying to go, well, there's a problem there, so let's just keep poking the bear and getting it mad and not have any resolution or any way to solve the problem that we are facing.
And just to piggyback on what Tony said there, I think, yes, we're constantly growing and changing. And I think a lot of people subscribe to the myth that if you love me, you'll just figure me out. Right? If you love me, you should know. I shouldn't have to tell you. We shouldn't have to work at this thing called marriage. And the truth of the matter is that if you claim that this is the most important person in your life, the most important relationship that you have, which I don't know how many wedding invitations you've seen that start off with, like, today I marry my best friend. Okay. If that is true, then how are you being intentional and taking action throughout the life of your marriage? Not just like figuring it all out for the wedding day, but throughout the next 50 years.
Which her parents just celebrated.
Yeah, my parents celebrated their 50th anniversary last week.
Congratulations. That's
amazing.
And my father-in-law wrote a poem that had me in tears.
Just talking about how much he loved my mom and how he chooses every day to love her.
Yeah. I mean, just for 50 years, I choose to love her. And I said, I love you every day. And I was like, wow, what a testament. And it's just struck me as just what he was willing to step into. And it made me check myself to go, wow, I don't think I've said that to Alisa every day of our years together, but it challenged me to go, I'm going to make sure I am saying it from this point forward every day.
Wow. I didn't know that happened.
See, you learn something new all the time.
This is why we come and hang out with you, Kevin, right? Because you're just like drawing stuff out of him that I didn't know. So thank you.
Oh, you're more than welcome. By the way, we're talking with Tony and Alisa DiLorenzo. Very nice. And there's something that is new with us, and I've started running just a few commercials, and so we're going to run one now, and so we'll be back in about 2 minutes. But I've got to ask, this is a fascinating discussion because I've got to ask them more about their married life. How does it translate when you got kids and you've got all of the responsibilities and the bills and all that stuff? And would it be fair, before I go, would it be fair to say that you are a marriage-centered couple?
Yes.
Or a marriage-centered couple. That is the primary thing that you guys are about, and everything else comes in line with that secondarily?
Yes. So would the alternative be like a child-centered couple?
Child-centered, job-centered,
yes.
friends and family-centered.
Yeah.
We are definitely a married center.
Definitely the married center, and everything comes off of that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because there are lots of relationships that I've personally witnessed that it is the boys on Thursday night that the husband looks forward to. Mm-hmm. And the rest of the time he's just filling time until he can get to go play with the guys again.
The next Thursday night.
Yeah.
So in any event, we're talking with Tony and Alisa. Go to their podcast, which is One Extraordinary Marriage. And is it .com, or how do they get to the podcast?
You can go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com, or you just go to your favorite podcast app and search One Extraordinary Marriage Show.
Wherever you're listening here, we're probably on the same platform.
Yep.
And I don't want to name drop, but they've got like millions of people that listen to them. Like, it makes me feel totally inadequate. But
never.
Well, it's thanks to you that more people are coming to listen. So we appreciate being here.
That is, well, you are a very good politician at the same time.
25 years married, you refine some skills.
That's exactly right. We'll be right back after these messages. Stay with us. Have you ever said, how did I do this again? Want to create your own powerful life? Well, Alison Roberts can help resolve the issues that keep repeating by creating a new outcome. She is one of the top 100 coaches in the world and will help you achieve your dreams. Email her at allison@allisonroberts.com or visit allisonroberts.com and receive a free guided meditation and discover all of her ongoing programs and events.
When you want to say more than words communicate, you can with flowers. Your custom boutique floral studio in Bothell, Washington is anaturaldesign.com, connecting you to nature through the language of flowers. Where your people are is where our flowers are beautiful. Your success is our goal. Now through New Year's Eve, here's your exclusive bonus for being our appreciated listener. Type in promo code Positive Talk Radio at checkout to receive $20 off your order. Our gift to you for being here with us today. anaturaldesign.com. Do you believe in the combination of brain work and spirituality? Her grace and sense of humor have made Alison Roberts highly sought after. She's a cognitive behavioral expert with natural intuition. Alison has guided thousands of people all over the world to find their internal power. Visit ALLYSONROBERTS.com for your free guided meditation today.
And welcome back to Positive Talk Radio. Hey, how did that sound? Did that actually sound like a professional radio show, maybe?
There you go.
Was that some Pearl Jam? It was definitely grunge.
Well, it's non-copyrighted music.
Oh, non-copyrighted music. Okay.
Yeah, so that I don't get into trouble with YouTube.
Royalty free.
Yeah, royalty free. You know what's it was really irritating is I occasionally will have a musical guest come on. Yeah. And I'll line up and I'll play a couple of their songs and stuff. And then YouTube goes and flags it, even though I have their permission because I'm interviewing them on the show. It's really irritating. But that's, that's part the world we live in these days.
Well, we're not musical guests, so you won't have that issue with us. So you're good here.
But you've got the podcast and you've got the book, 6 Pillars of Love. And
Pillars of Intimacy.
The same thing.
So people don't go look for it that way.
Yeah, that's exactly 6 Pillars of Intimacy.
Yeah.
But it's also in 6. Well, never mind. I'm not going to justify that.
Don't confuse
I just love having you guys here because you are so. And number one, you're entertaining, and so is your podcast. And if you are a married couple, I highly suggest you sit down and listen to it together. Do you have a bunch of folks that do that?
We do. A lot of folks, they'll listen together or they listen separately during the week because the show comes out on Tuesdays and, whether it's commute or, work from home or whatever that is. And then they make time during the week to discuss what they heard us talking about. So it's become a launching point for a lot of conversations literally around the world for married couples.
And it goes back to what you're talking about, communication and how have we done it. And we have seen so many couples and marriages get rocked in a good way because they can hear Alisa and I talking about a topic that may be taboo or that's not something married couples should talk about. And they're able to listen to us, just have a conversation, not get all ups or downs or emotionally like crazy highs or lows and just listen to it and go, well, if Tony and Alisa can do it, then let's just talk about it. And I tell folks all the time, I'm like, just say Tony said that, or listen to what Tony and Alisa said. And how does that how do you see that in our marriage today or whatever it may be? But yeah, we have a lot of couples who do that. Newlywed couples, we just got what we call for us, our testimonials, we call them hugs, and just got one recently from a couple, from a wife who's both sides had divorced and had never seen a couple do marriage. And so they saw themselves repeating some of the patterns that they had seen, but had found the podcast. And she was just like, what a breath of fresh air. What a blessing, because now we have a couple that we can look towards so that we can grow on this journey called marriage.
Now, I know both of you are go to church and you have a youth group or you have a group that you work with and stuff like that. But I wanted to ask you specifically, because I think this is a big issue with a lot of young people that are getting married. And that is that, okay, young ladies, sex is bad. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Guys, keep your KYPIP, keep your Peter in your pants. And then you have this married day. Yes. And then all of a sudden go forth and multiply. It's like, that's got to be the weirdest combination of things. How do you coach people? And I don't know if any young people come to you, but how do you coach people to negotiate that?
Well, the first thing that we do is for the last 12 years, have been telling all the adults, stop telling the young people in your life that sex is bad. Give them a framework on why they'd want to wait until they were mature enough in a marriage relationship to be able to handle that. But I mean, let's face it, orgasms are good. There's nothing bad about having an orgasm.
Yeah.
Right. And so
we both enjoy them.
I'm not complaining. Right. And so I think the church as a whole has done a lot of damage with this whole idea of sex is bad. And then you get married and, like you said, go forth and multiply. I personally deal with a lot of women who come to me for coaching because of that. And we really have to look at, I look at equipping them with what does it look like to understand sexuality, sexual intimacy in a healthy framework within marriage, to understand what the motivations were for all of those people that said sex is bad, It comes from a good place. That's why that's said, but without context, sometimes we just even have to forgive those people that have told us that and be like, I know you were trying to protect me. You did it in a lousy way. I'm not going to hold you responsible. And I'm going to, both husband and wife work together to create a healthy sexuality within the marriage.
Yeah. And we call that the light switch, right? It's off. Now you're married, turn it on. And you're supposed to just be like, okay, we're going to have sex 24/7 and everything's great. And you're scared. You don't know what it's going to be like. You're not sure.
It hurts.
It hurts. I mean, there's
nobody talks to you about lube.
Sorts of things. And so that, from the newlywed folks, obviously they're listening and we're sharing about, like Alisa said, lube. What does it look like to actually initiate with one another? What's it look like to have foreplay? You got to warm each other up. We talk about, some of the books that we've talked about, just talking about the male and female anatomy. Like this is what's going on, people. And I would say it's not just a younger generation. It's also our generation.
Yeah.
And everything in between and the older generation. It has not stopped. And as Alisa said, we are more of the proponent of sex is beautiful, sex is good. Let's just put it in a framework so that it's healthy.
Exactly. The excuse me. The gospel according to Whoopi Goldberg states that kids are going to continue to have sex because it feels good. Seems logical to me. And by the way, I love this about you too. You are so open about things. You have a store on your website.
Yes.
And it is full of very interesting things that
In what way?
In what way?
Yeah.
See, now here I am stumbling over myself.
I'm going to put you on the spot, Kevin. In what way is it interesting?
You're turning red.
It's turning red.
I am. I love the bedroom adventure bundle, and the books that you have for sale, and the Uber lube. Is that it?
Uber lube? It's the Cadillac of all lubes.
Yes.
So good.
And I was going to ask you, and I was being facetious at the time, but now I'm not. A 60-day sex challenge does require lube on a regular basis.
Absolutely. Yeah. Sorry for the jet. We live here in San Diego, so if anybody is hearing the jet, we live close to Miramar, and so all the Top Gun folks, and they're running
lots of exercises,
a lot of flights and exercises right now. So if you do hear some noise in the background on our side, it's just we have our jets flying overhead.
Yes,
it actually sounds pretty good. So okay. I didn't notice, but okay. So I love the fact that you were so honest about the realities of life and sex and what it's all about, and you're helping people demystify it would be a better word, because men and women that are young, if they haven't had a lot of sexual experience, they just really don't know. Yeah. And so it would be helpful if they knew a little bit more. But
and we share and Kevin, you've listened to the show enough to know that Alisa and I are not scared to go there and to talk about it openly, honestly, and transparently. And that's something that we learned from the very beginning. And those are 3 things that we have stood on since then. Is like, if we're going to get behind these microphones, we cannot be fake. We cannot be, we're going to hold this back from you. No, we're going to be open, honest, and transparent, because really for us, when we started our whole thing in our mission, and still to this day, touch one couple.
Right.
If we can impact one couple, then we have done what we've been called to do. We've been fortunate to touch thousands and thousands and tens of thousands of couples. And so we just keep getting behind the mic and just humbling ourselves and just going, okay, how do we be open, honest, and transparent around lube per se? We didn't use it for the longest time. Why would we need it?
We didn't know.
Right. Why would we need it? There's a lack. Then that means that I'm unable to get my wife aroused. And from her point of view, it's like, well, there's something wrong with me. But we do our research. We talk to people. We were, studying ourselves and going through this to go, no, lube's okay. And then we went and tried probably 15, 20 different lubes.
A lot.
And Uber Lube is our favorite. And it's the one we do sell. And we sell, hundreds of bottles a month.
Yeah.
And we are happy because we know we're impacting somebody's marriage and their sexual intimacy.
And I just want to say one thing real quick, Kevin, about the lube. I feel it's so important that women know about lube that I actually, when we're invited to weddings, and I get invited to the bridal shower, either as your bridal shower gift or your wedding gift, you're getting a bottle of lube from us because I want couples to start their marriage with this knowledge and to not have it be something that's awkward. Because they're like, okay, well, if we invite Tony and Lisa, we know what we're getting. And I think sometimes we probably just get invited so that they get the lube and like they don't have to order it themselves. I'm sure that's part of it. Just like,
and we had one friend on their honeymoon, like she's texting us. She's like, oh my gosh, this lube is the best ever. And we're texting her back going, you're on your honeymoon. Tell us when you get back. Tell us when you come back. Like, don't worry about it.
Go do what you gotta do.
Go have fun with your husband.
Oh, that's just amazingly awesome. But they've got books and they've got the 7-Day Sex Challenge and you've got also what's with the couch?
Oh, Liberator.
The wedges.
The Liberator wedge. Yeah.
You know, one of the reasons that the store exists is that there's a lot of sketchy stuff on the internet, and you can actually get yourself into some really scary rabbit holes if you start searching. And we wanted our people know, like, and trust us. They know what we're about. They know that we vet things out. And so what we've done on our store is really to curate in a healthy way items that couples can use together. And yes, are there wedges and pillows and ramps on there? Absolutely. Because those are tools. One, if you have hip, neck, or back problems, they can make sex a whole lot more comfortable for you. Whether you do or you don't, because it just changes the angle and whatnot, whether you do or you don't, having a pillow, a wedge, a ramp, it totally changes the dynamic. Like, as you change your position when you're being sexually intimate, it changes the whole experience. The same position, like, let's just take the missionary position, flat on, she's flat on her back on the bed. Okay, been done a gazillion times through the course of history. She gets a little bit of an angle from a ramp. It's a whole different experience for both.
Yeah, there's something about that angle that happens where you just feel a little bit closer to one another. It's really cool. And we have all of those. We do test them all out. We're very much in the, all right, like, who are we working with? Do we believe in the product? And Liberator, by far, that wedge ramp, I think, is their Cadillac, as they would say. And it's an amazing resource tool to have in your marriage. Do we use it every single time? No. Is it in our room? Yeah. And so we pull it out when we want it, and you can use it in different positions. And it's encouraging couples to get out of the routines when it comes to their sexual intimacy. Right. Like, you can do something different. You can stand up. You can use a wedge in a different way. You can use both of them with the wedge and the wedge ramp combo. You can pick up one of the other ones. So it just allows couples and for us to go, it's between you guys. Go do something fun for one another and explore. If it doesn't work, it's okay. Alisa and I have tried stuff that we're laughing and we're like, that didn't work. So it's okay. We'll just change it up. And the next time we won't go directly to that position or whatever it may be.
And it helps people be more engaged because, rather than the wife being on the bottom of missionary position and looking up and going, beige, I think I'll paint the ceiling beige.
Wow. Yes.
Yeah.
She's a lot more involved in what's happening at the moment.
Yeah. It makes it different for both spouses. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. And no, have you ever had a question in your mind and suddenly it just disappears?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that just happened to me. So, but anyway, I just love it. I love what you guys are about. I think there needs to be more of what you guys do out there. But have you guys thought about, just out of curiosity, have you thought about doing a TV show? Has that come up?
It has, and yet for us, It would have to be the right team, the right director, producer doing it. We've had some people mention it to us and do something, and so it just hasn't settled just yet. We love our 6 pillars of intimacy, and we believe that what we've done through that radically can change marriages. And so as that book continues to sell and reach new people, I think there will be something. There'll be things that will come up. And we're looking to do more video ourselves. It's something that we haven't done because we've been behind our microphones for so long. And so we're a little bit of a late adopter to the video, but we're getting better.
Yes.
Well, this is just the videos that you've seen us do today. This is brand new for me. So and they're actually, I think they're pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's brand new because we're used to the medium of audio.
Yeah.
And as we go forward, it's going to end up being a video audio kind of thing, whether you like it or not. But that's great. So do either of you have any thoughts or any questions or anything that's on your mind today that you would like to tell our audience?
I would say this. If something in you got sparked by our conversation with Kevin here, this is what I would tell you. Get listening to the show. Listen to the One Extraordinary Marriage show. But don't just listen to it, because any of us can listen to things. And we can sit back and go, oh, that's Tony and Alisa. What I would really challenge you to do is be intentional in one of the pillars of intimacy and then take action. So look at the pillars of intimacy, get the book, read it, understand what we're talking about, but look at them and go, oh, wow, like we have cracks in our sexual intimacy, and then go, all right, what is it that we need to start strengthening in that? And what can I do around that? But then take action. Don't just sit around and hope and pray that something's going to happen. You actually got to start moving towards that. And yes, is it going to be a bumpy road? Yes. Have you been hurt before, maybe in the past? Yes. But you know what? You start taking those little baby steps and things start, the clouds start breaking and you get a little sunshine, you get one little ray, and before you know it, the sun's fully out and shining on you and your marriage.
He's good.
That's beautiful.
I know.
He did a really nice job of that. I got to tell you.
I don't even have to follow him.
Do I get a kiss for it?
Well, you did start to say episode when you were supposed to say show. So yes.
Thank you.
That's a little internal language joke.
By the way, Alisa, do you also have a coaching practice, right?
I do. Yeah, I've been coaching individuals and couples now for 10-ish years, about 450 couples I've worked with.
If somebody wants to access your coaching, how do they get that done?
Go to oneextraordinarymarriage.com/coaching. That will walk you through the steps. There's a great case study on there, and the ability to apply for coaching.
Yep.
So that I can have a better understanding of where you're at and what you want to accomplish, and really start to lay out what the next steps are for you.
Oh, I love that. You have to apply. But I can't say most, but many coaches are like, okay, come on. Yeah, we'll do you. And come on. No, you have to apply to work.
You do have to apply.
Yeah, we want to make sure. It's been a process for us, but Alisa and I together just really realized we want to work with couples, and she does in particular want to work with couples that know what's going on, and it's not just fix us. Okay.
I can't just fix you. We need to identify what the challenges are, and what you want to accomplish.
Yeah.
Right. And so the application really walks people through just being clear, so that when we do start working together, we literally from session 1, we are jumping in and starting to strategize and implement action, because you've already given me all the background, right? Let's go after this and let's get something going in your marriage.
Do you prefer the couples to come in together, or do you like them separate and then together? How does it work?
If a couple is working with me, both husband and wife, I will always see both of them together for the first session, then do an individual session to just kind of hear all the stuff that they've already repeated 100 times to the other person. And then we'll come back together to work in what I call our team calls. But I also have a lot of clients who, for whatever reason, their spouse isn't ready or willing yet to start coaching, but they know that there are areas that they need to address. And so I just work with them one-on-one.
There are lots, and Tony, I know that you know this. There are lots of guys that will say, Coaching? You're gonna go. Wait a minute. You want me to go to a coach? Are you nuts? I don't need a coach. You're the one that needs fixing. Do you have a lot? I know a lot of guys that are like that.
Yeah.
Do you?
We actually, I mean, I have quite a few husbands that will coach by themselves. And I think it's because of the fact that they resonate with the fact that coaching is so action oriented that they get the practical action steps. So it's not this like, oh, well, we just are going to sit and talk about your feelings, or we're going to rehash the problems for the last 20 years. It's what is going on? Where do you want to go? What do you need to do to get there? And because I'm so direct, it might be because I had a son that played football for, 8 years. And so I'm just like, let me grab your mask. This is what you're going to do. Go do it. I tell people that all the time in my coaching sessions. A lot of husbands really respond to that.
Yeah.
And they're thrilled that that's the approach. And at the same time, I can be, I am a woman, I can relate to women. So it really, what I've done and what the miracles that we've seen in marriages through coaching have been absolutely extraordinary over the years.
Yeah. It's just stepping in. It's stepping in. There's a lot of resistance that we put up in ourselves and what others are going to think or say. And so I try to help guys as well to be like, hey, we've gone to coaching together. I've gone to a counselor individually because I'm not going to have my wife talk about certain things that, deal with her and even myself. Do I bring it up to Alisa afterwards? Yeah, most of the time I'm sharing it with her. But I try to bring it up in a way of like, it's okay. This isn't something you got to do for life. Alisa would tell you, she doesn't want to be your forever coach. She doesn't want to be your forever marriage coach. She wants to come in, work with you, tweak what needs to be tweaked, give you the action steps so that you can go on. And if you need a maintenance, once every month or once every 6 weeks, and come back in and get a little maintenance, get a little checkup as a couple, and rock and roll.
Yeah.
I'm convinced that, at least in our society that I'm around a lot, that everybody needs a coach. And sometimes you need multiple coaches, which is why I feel fairly comfortable offering a commercial from a coach who's paying me to play a commercial, but also to have a coach on at the same time, because you're different. You do different things.
Yeah.
And there's 330 million of us that are wandering around here lost and afraid and stuff. And we could all use the benefit of somebody like you and as a couple. Yeah, you guys are rock solid. You're just awesome.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Kevin.
Always a pleasure to speak with you, Kevin.
Yeah.
So and so I told you, now you're going to come back, right?
Yes,
absolutely.
Even though I can't pronounce the name of your book.
That's okay.
The 6 Pillars of Intimacy. Got it. See,
we're gonna flash it again just so people can see it.
Yes, please do. And
just having fun with you.
And
great
go
product
get
placement,
it.
honey. Great product placement.
Yes, and go get the book and read it, and then reach out to these two, or just go to the podcast, because you've got how many episodes up now?
706.
I'm catching up, but I'm still behind. 706 they've got, and they've touched just about every topic that you can possibly imagine, I would guess, and probably doubled back on a few.
No, absolutely. I mean, marriages need to hear the same thing multiple times, and we have grown in our own lives. And so something that we talked about 10 years ago, it's changed in 10 years. So we have more experience, more insights, what has happened. And so we can talk a little differently to that topic. Yeah.
I just had a thought, and I just have to ask this, because when I went to high school, there were 2 couples that I knew of that were boyfriend and girlfriend in high school. Then they got married, and then they're still together today, 40 some odd years later.
Yeah.
And it's rare. It really is rare. Do you think that you guys were destined for each other from the very beginning? Or is this been something that you've grown together over time? Because some people would say that they're soulmates, whatever that means. You're soulmates. You were destined to be together. Do you think that? And why do so many couples that are young? Because you got married pretty young.
We were young, 22 and 23.
Yeah.
Yeah, and most of those marriages don't last.
Yeah.
and yours did. And it's a testament to both of you and why you're doing the work that you're doing. But do you think that it's predestined, that it is a gift from God, or is it hard work, or is it a combination of all of that?
I would definitely say, Tony, is a gift from God, but not in the predestined sense. I mean, we have, I don't think I've ever used the term soulmate with you.
No, we've never have. And I think it's almost a mindset thing. It's like, oh, I found the one, and it goes across. I mean, I hear people who are non-Christian say this whole thing as well. I found the one. And for some reason, it's like this mindset of, well, now that I found the one, I don't have to do anything. Like there he is, there she is. Where I think Alisa and I, were we meant for each other? Yeah. And yet we had to do a ton of work and growth to be where we are today. And so I think it's more the mindset we have around marriage. There's a commitment. We made a commitment. We said our vows. We lean upon those vows. Those are empty words that we said on our wedding day when we were 23 and 22, and we never look at them ever again. Those are words that we really meant. Now, did we always live those out, Kevin? No. And so we've had to grow through that. But for myself, I would never go, oh, wow, we're soulmates, and, you know, we were just,
out of 330 billion people or whatever it is,
like 7.5 billion,
whatever, lots of
330 million in
whatever,
in
lots
the
of big numbers. But
yes.
But and I think just to piggyback on the point that you made, you know, if we have this mindset that we found the one and that this is predestined, and we don't actually work at it, then we don't understand what happens when the one has all of these irritating habits and we don't get along.
Yep.
Right? Because if you were the one for me, why don't you love me better? Whereas if we step into this place of saying, and you know, we touched on this earlier in the conversation, you know, what does it look like to grow together? Well, if I've made this commitment to you, then I have to hold up my end of the bargain. And it's like I tell a lot of my coaching clients, look, on the day you got married, you said, I do. You didn't say I did. You didn't say I will do. You said I do. What are you doing in the present to honor those vows, to honor this person? And if you keep doing and staying in the present, the rest of it will take care of itself. Because if you both are doing that, you stay together.
Exactly. And I was going to make an off-color joke right there, but it has to do with in the wedding. I'll say it, and then I'll get the letters. But okay. But when you do the wedding vows and it says "till death do you part," so that's why I buried my wife in the backyard. I'm just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. So here
come the letters.
Yes.
Here come the letters.
You said it.
Not us. Yeah. We just commented on it. That's all.
We understand. We've gotten them too. We understand.
So thank you guys for being here.
Thank you,
I
Kevin.
really appreciate it. And I really look forward to the next time that we have the opportunity to get together, and I hope it will be often. Because you add the thing that you add to all of this is that you're helping people one person at a time, and you're helping people change their lives. They're changing them, but you're providing them the blueprint. And that's just perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Kevin. Have a great day.
I have to. You too. And stay right where you are for a second. I got to do this. I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we